In this video I'm going to demonstrate how to seal your blade. Sealing your blade is important because otherwise if you don't seal it and the blade doesn't come sealed from the manufacturer, you run the risk of actually stripping the fibres from the blade whenever you take a rubber off. And obviously if you keep doing that, the surface of the blade isn't going to last for very long. So unless the bat comes sealed already when you buy it, it's important to put some sort of sealing, some sort of protection on it, so that in future you can remove move your rubbers without having to worry about the blade getting the surface of the blade getting destroyed. What I'm going to use today is just plain old sanding sealer. I like the sanding sealer. I've also used polyurethane in the past. Polyurethane works just as well. The only real difference I find is polyurethane tends to leave a thin coat that's noticeable on the surface, whereas sanding sealer seems to sink in a little bit more and isn't quite as noticeable on the surface. Both do a good job, and I really have to admit that I can't tell the difference between my blades that have been sealed with sanding sealer and my blades that have been sealed with polyurethane. So it's really just a matter of preference for me. I just like the way the blade feels with sanding sealer. Okay, so what I'm going to do is firstly take your new blade, make sure it's all nice and clean and there's no dust on it anywhere, so ready to go. This particular blade is just an older one that I'm just using to demonstrate. And all I really do is grab my sanding sealer. You notice that I'm doing it on some newspaper and a plastic bag, which just helps protect the table. And I just take a small piece of paper to spread it around. You can use a brush, use whatever you like. I can never be bothered washing out the brush afterwards, so this works better for me. I've just poured a little bit of the sanding sealer on the blade and just spread it around. And I'm just taking care to angle the blade to the light so that I can see, just like you can see there, you can see how good my coverage is of sanding sealer. And it doesn't really matter how thick a coat you get. If you get it a little bit too thick, you can always sandpaper it back. Also, if it's too thick, it'll just run off onto the plastic underneath, and I can always reuse that if I want. So I'm just getting a good first coat. I don't really like to coat my handle, but I will coat the little bits up to the handle. And again, if I spill a bit on the handle, it's not too big a deal. And I also like to seal the edges. It's okay if you use a little bit much, just pop a little bit over onto the back. And you can see there, what I'm now getting is a fairly good coverage all around. Okay, and a quick repeat for the other side. Now you can see on the other side, so both sides have got good coverage. Just let me try, there we go, just get that light, yep, I flip it. So I've got a nice coverage on the blade, and the last thing I then want to do is I want to be able to prop it up so that really it can just sit there and dry without any danger of falling over and tipping and landing on my carpet or doing anything like that. So what I usually use is just here, I'll just move that over a little bit. what I usually use is just a few boxes put together and a couple of boxes on top to form a gap, and prop it up on the plastic against, so there's a little bit of a gap, put one on each side, and now I can just really leave my bat there and wait for it to dry, and that will take about 6 hours or so. So that's really it. Once it's done, if it's still if it's a little bit too thick, the covering, I'll sand it back. I shouldn't have missed any areas because I've had a good look as I was going. If I had missed any areas, I would probably just do a repeat coat. And that's sealing your blade.